Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast, brought to you by MMORPG.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I am, of course, your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman, and this is episode 446. 446. We're live, twitch.tv/MMOBomb. We've got chat hanging by, ready to chime in with all their opinions as we go. A lot of news to cover, lots of small bits of good news and dumb news. Then we're going to play true or fake gaming headlines with the hosts today. And then we'll sign off with a little DreamWorld headed into early access, if you can believe that. We'll talk about that as well. And your feedback from last week's show, your weekly bums, your question of the week answers, and of course, a question of the week this week. So if you like what we do here, much appreciated for stopping by. Head on over to MMOBomb.com, read all the articles. We've got some giveaways coming up, interviews, first looks, all that fun stuff. Rate your favorites and not favorite games on our game pages for your fellow gamers. And if you're here on YouTube, give us a like, give us a subscribe, a comment. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear from new people. If you're new, if you don't comment like that's just not you, give us a hello. Let us know what's going on. Let us know how you're doing. Joining me today to go over all of it, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
It's Friday, so that's good.
It is. It is.
Right?
It is Friday. It is Friday. Also on the line, the noob fridge himself, the great sword wielder himself, Mr. Troy Blackburn. Oh, Doggo. Doggo.
That freaked me out.
Doggo.
That really freaked me out. I was not expecting that.
What's up, Troy?
Well, I had to buy my great sword off the trading post because for some reason I didn't get a quest reward or a drop that was a great sword, despite the fact that everybody else was running around the starting zone with a great sword.
They knew it was you. Amazon knew it was you.
Right.
We're going to talk a little bit about that. Obviously, I'm sure we'll get a fuller look at it once it launches, but we will talk a little bit about your preview article because you did get to look at the Greatsword and the Brimstone Sands region and all that fun stuff ahead of time. That's already up, so you can get Troy's opinions on that. You did play around on the PTR. We'll talk about that a little bit today, but I'm sure you'll provide a much more in-depth review when it's actually available in-game after what presumably will be a week of it breaking other shit. I don't know. I'm just saying the history is there. The history is there.
Great sword causes an auction house duplication.
Right, exactly. Economy shut down again. Let's get started with the news. All right. First up, we're going to talk about good news and dumb news, so little tidbits here for you, and I'll let you decide what's good news and what's dumb news. But, Troy, one that isn't in the show notes because it just broke this morning, Q already writing it up. We didn't get a chance to put it up before the show. It'll be up right after the show. Bless Unleashed on consoles closing down. No word on Bless Unleashed for the PC, but, I mean, they just did an update, but... yeah, I mean, the game that was specifically designed for consoles, now shutting down on consoles. I'm sure you are absolutely heartbroken.
I absolutely am. It's sad news to hear that, and unfortunately, all the consoles I own are only have Bless Unleashed on them. Obviously,
I mean that's the only reason you bought them.
Yeah, I bought like multiple consoles to play Bless Unleashed. And it's the only game on them. And so now at this point, I'm devastated. And I'm not sure what's going to happen with all these consoles.
Hit up Twitter at NoobFridge if you want to buy a console. If you want to get a console. I got to say, like, I will say to me, Bless Unleashed was one of those that, like, it didn't do anything egregiously wrong. It wasn't fun to me. Like, you hit a part where, and we did it on stream and in the first look, where it just started to become a slog, and like it wasn't great. It wasn't, a glitchy mess, but it was just, whatever. If you need something to play, sure, you could do worse. But I wouldn't hold out hope for the PC version at this point, right? I mean, the game was developed for consoles. So they're just like pinning their hopes and dreams on what is probably stupidly profitable, the Bless mobile stuff, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. And There is a lot of profit in mobile anyway, but I don't know. I never touched any of the blesses, like, so I can't.
What
I
a
cannot.
weird sentence.
I know, right? Any
I'll
of
tell you what these games were developed for. They were developed to fail constantly, over and over and over and over. That's all they know how to do is fail, 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 because they're trash, they're garbage, they're not any good, and anything with that name on it should be avoided at all costs. Going old school today.
You
Troy,
are.
Troy,
Damn.
admit it. You're going to be really sad when your nemesis is truly gone.
I don't know if my nemesis will ever truly be gone because people still bring it up to me in chat all the time during my streams. They're like, "What about Bless?" I'm like, "It's dead."
I
What about
still
Bless
give you
Unleashed? What about Bless
shit
Mobile?
because MMO Bomb viewers are still owed a Bless video from Troy. They to this day, the original Bless Online. We did the first look, we co-opted that one, but
It
then
didn't even last long enough for me to make a video where I laugh about it.
it will, like, yeah, I'm worried. Q, you're right. I'm worried about you, Troy. It's like, what does Spider-Man do if all the villains are dead? You know, like, what happens at that point?
Well, Guardian Vale says he'll just find a new nemesis. So
Yeah,
maybe
we'll find
that's
a new
it.
one.
Maybe we just need to find him a new nemesis.
I mean, if
Oh, maybe there's one today.
there might be. There might be. We'll get there. We'll get there. We got a in-depth gameplay look this week through a stream over from the Ilphonic team at Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. Obviously, we've been pretty positive about this one so far. It's early. We hadn't seen much. We just like the concept. We like the team behind it. Troy and I, in particular, are big fans of asymmetrical gameplay like this, whether, 4-on-1, 5-on-1. Hell, I'm stoked for Killer Clowns 3-on-7. Like, fine. Fine. Give it to me. But Ghostbusters obviously carries that IP that's very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. See the remake and what happened with all of that stuff. Like, this is an IP that you better get right. Because otherwise Ghostbuster fans will crucify your game, regardless of whether it's a good game or not. Now, we did get to see quite a bit of gameplay, all from the Busters side of things. They are going to do a future stream where they show the Ghost side of things, but all the footage you're seeing right now from their stream is the Buster side. And they talk about, it was like labeled as a sneak peek. The damn thing's an hour long. Like, the video's an hour and like 12, but the first 11 minutes or so are just their stream screen. They just uploaded it straight to YouTube, I guess, from Twitch. Or they streamed it live on YouTube and just had that screen up, and that's fine. So jump to about the 11-minute mark. But then you see lead designer Jordan and community manager playing the game itself, running around the character creation where you customize your Buster, running around the firehouse, which looks fantastic. Using all the gadgets. The sounds are there, Troy. They are the legit sounds you would expect them to be, but just making sure the firing up of the blasters, everything you could want on that side. They talked about gameplay where you do have to, like, in certain matches, close portals, and so you can't just go after the ghost and call it a day. This is an asymmetric gameplay. The environment changes based on the haunting level going up. Stuff happens. Now, they shut off the haunting level at like 70 whatever percent. They modded that to make it stop because they didn't want to spoil anything or show that types of stuff yet. But we saw all the equipment. The environment changed as the haunting level went up. They talked about all the gameplay. I gotta say, it was a hell of a stream. They did a really, really good job with this stream.
They did a great job of showing off the game.
Yeah.
It wasn't like 100% pure gameplay. It was more like devs in the game showing you everything that they've been working hard on. And like you said, the sounds were right. They talked a lot about hitting the lore. They wanted everything to be right for Ghostbusters. They wanted to make sure that the tools that you're using look the proper way, they function the way you expect them to, and there's going to be some gameplay tweaks they may have to make with them, but they still want you to 100% know that you're playing a Ghostbusters game whenever you're in this, and I appreciate that because that's my favorite movie of all time is Ghostbusters. So I'm really in love with it, with, like you said, the sounds, the weapons, the tools that you're using, the PKE meter. They spent a lot of time on showing that off, tracking ghosts and stuff like that. So there it is in the clip again. So I'm really excited for this. I think I'm more excited now, even though this wasn't a pure 100% gameplay. It is gameplay, but it wasn't them necessarily playing the game as we would play it.
Yeah.
But it made me super excited to get in and try it out for myself. For
I mean,
sure.
they did do
And I want to
some
be a
ghost
Ghostbuster. I don't want to be a
casting and
ghost.
stuff like that. They did
Yeah,
do
I don't want
some
to be a
ghost
ghost. I want to be a Ghostbuster. Ghostbuster.
Q, I liked subtle touches. Again, fan service stuff like a property damage bill accumulating when they accidentally destroy walls and shit with their blasters. I love those like little nods to that's definitely Ghostbusters type humor.
I mean, that was the entire thing when you rolled into Ghostbusters 2, right? Like half of the shit was, man, you guys, okay, you saved the city, but you screwed everything up while saving the city. And we're still mad at you about that. Like that was the entire beginning premise. So yeah, them going in and I guess like screwing up the science museum or something. Like that seems very, very Ghostbusters to me. The environments look really nice too.
Yeah, they do. That's a good point because like when you look at the bottom of the gameplay here, it's marked as alpha still. And I'm like, you know what? I've played a lot of alphas in my day. A lot of alphas in my day. This is a damn good looking alpha. This is a damn good looking alpha. Obviously some frame rate stutters here and there. Don't know how much of that is because it's alpha or how much because they were streaming. I don't know. There's a lot of variables in there. But when you put an alpha tag on it and this is what it looks like, I'm feeling good about where you're at. And I hope the team at IllFonic is too. It looks good. I'm super pumped for it. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. And so it'll be awful. That's what'll happen. That's what'll happen.
There's nowhere to go but down from here. So
like they'll just edit it to fan complaints until it turns into exactly the game they didn't want.
Well, I do think like if you look at what's going on though, Troy, and we're spending a little more time on this one than we will on some of these other topics, just because they're little quick beats. If you look at what's going on here, they haven't said a lot about ghost gameplay, but I do get the feeling that it isn't about the ghosts killing the Ghostbusters, right? Like that's not what it's not a Dead by Daylight situation, right? Where you've got Albert Wesker in their newest thing, which he looks awesome, by the way, as a killer going after the survivors and kill them all. There's like it seems to be more objective based from the ghost side. Do these certain things, raise the haunt meter, and do, whatever happens when the haunt meter goes off that ends the round for the Ghostbusters. Now they don't have a chance to catch you. You escaped, you destroyed the environment, whatever it is. And I like that. Like the ghost gameplay being more objective based while the Ghostbusters are just trying to catch them. I like the idea.
That's more
Because it
true to
creates
the IP.
Yeah.
yeah, and it creates a true difference in gameplay too. It's not just you're doing kind of the same thing on both sides, just different ways going after each other. It definitely makes for a more interesting gameplay experience. And I think if somebody like me who's like excited to be a Ghostbuster, I think the ghost doing something different and something objective based would be what would draw me into wanting to play the ghost as well.
Yeah, and I hope that's the case. We're speculating a little bit just
Yes.
on what we've seen from the Buster side of things. But that also, not only the whole killer survivor thing, it takes it away from the hide and seek mentality that you usually see in this type of asymmetric game. Yeah, of course, you're the ghost. You're going to have to hide. You want to avoid the Ghostbusters. But it's not just about hide until a timer expires. It's you got to do certain things while hiding. So I kind of like at least where I think they're going. We'll learn more when we see the stream showing off the ghost side of things. But
I really hope you're right.
I hope so
because
too.
I feel like I said, it fits the IP. I don't recall there ever being somebody killed by a ghost in Ghostbusters.
Right.
Like
No, they just get
take over their
slimed.
bodies. They take over their bodies. They slime them. They scare the crap out of them. But I don't remember anybody ever being killed by one of the Ghostbusters ghosts.
Right. Except for a few careers. Next up, Soulframe. Q and I really like this one, but we kind of like appreciate a little. Q and I are like behind the scenes cats. We kind of like that stuff for certain games. Like obviously, I don't want to sit there and watch you program, but I do enough of that on my own. But Digital Extremes released a video journal for Soulframe. Again, we're still not getting a lot about this game. We do expect to get some later this year, as well as whatever Digital Extremes is working on through their partnership. We'll see that at the Game Awards in December. But Digital Extremes dropped a new piece of concept art, but they didn't just, hey, here's some new art on the site, go look at it. They also did a dev stream, only like 5 or 6 or 7 minutes long, not a long video, where they talked to the writer-programmer Steve Sinclair, speaking to creative director Jeff Crooks and associate art director Rosa Lee to get some insight on not just the development of concept art, but sometimes Q, apparently, that's just straight up abandoned. And then they kind of ventured into talking about a little bit about animal companions, which we assume, based on everything we've seen, nature and animals are going to be a big part of Soulframe. Yes,
we kind of lost you there for a second.
It was a lot of
robotic
all the way through, so we're not sure what's going on at this point.
I was just saying
you were leading into a conversation we don't know what it's about.
Sometimes they ditch concept art, and they did venture into animal companions and things like that a little bit, which is something we assume, based on the nature aspect of the game, is going to be pretty big for Soulframe.
Yeah, what was it? They were talking about sort of like, was it sparrows? They said,
yeah,
that it's going to it's going to act more like your quest guide than necessarily like a UI element, and more immersion based things like that and stuff like that. Sounds pretty cool. This game sounds really interesting. What very little we kind of have on it at the moment, but the ideas behind it and the developers behind it sound like they're going to produce something that's going to be worth checking out. But we'll see as more comes out.
Q loved that sparrow. She loved that little guy.
I mean, honestly, so I know a lot of people, when the original trailer came out, they were just like, this doesn't really show us anything and it's way too early and stuff like that. But I really liked that original trailer. And it may be the Ghibli feel that it has, right, to it, and all of that jazz. But I just really liked the direction they went with it. So to see this other piece of art, which is darker, right, and has less hope, like, because it's just like it's intended to be cold and gloomy and depressing and all of that, and that was the initial thing they went with, and then they decided, no, this isn't really quite the right direction. We want something that has a little hope and shows a promising future and stuff like that. So we got the moose instead. But I like this piece just because it shows like the two vastly different directions that they were kind of headed on it.
If you want to see some more, that article is up on mmobomb.com. Obviously, we've got the video linked in there too. Just a 7-minute or so watch. Troy, I'm not going to give you all day, but New Worlds, Brimstone Sands, upcoming update, a region 3 times larger than anything they've ever had in the game so far. The Great Sword, a new player experience, thank God, and a lot of other changes. You got a chance to preview it with the team ahead of time. That article's on MMO Bomb. Go give it a comment on what you think. But you also streamed yesterday on the PTR. Have a couple of minutes there.
So essentially the beginning starter experience, it feels more like an MMO, I would say. You've got quests, you've got a story that makes sense. You can follow the linear path of the main story quest. You can pick up side quests, or you can go sandbox it up anytime you want to. It makes it feel more like the sand park that it should be. The story is actually really interesting in Monarch's Bluffs. You're talking about the lineage of King Arthur and the revamp to the zone itself with the more castle aesthetics, the more medieval feel to it. And it's not just the main town. They've added several other locations out in the world that sort of have that aesthetic along with it, like the Arthurian knights came in and built up these castles and fortifications, and King Arthur himself may have even been there at some point. So without spoiling anything, a lot of nods to that. And the great sword itself feels fantastic. Probably a little overtuned right now, but it is like it was day one of PTR, so it's probably going to be overtuned. But the sword itself is super smooth, feels fantastic. Haven't got to go hands on with Brimstone Sands. That'll be later this month before we actually get into the new zone itself. But in the preview, it looked really cool with the Egyptian, sort of the ancient Egyptian architecture, and then the kind of the Roman flair where the Romans had come over and got corrupted, and now you're having to deal with that.
I mean, it seems to be making a little bit of gains, right? Like, I mean, it just kind of like just kept going down, kept going down. We were waiting for the player base like numbers to plateau on Steam, and they kind of did around 13,000. And now they're climbing back up a little bit. It's not huge, right? Still at about 16,000. It's a slow climb, but things like this, if they're done right, could certainly help. I know, Ginger Prime, a very good friend of mine, he's absolutely pumped about this update and has been watching New World's population and doing some analysis. If you want to check that out over on his New World YouTube channel. It just never grabbed me. It's not, no matter what they add, it's just not going to be for me at this point. But I knew that going into it because of its leaning into PvP a little more. Now, they certainly don't lean as much as original concept was leaning into it. They lean far less. It's like a slight lean instead of falling over. But, I knew the game wasn't really going to be for me, so I'm okay with that, which means I don't want it to fail. Like, I like when there's MMOs in the world, Q, whether they're for me or not. But I like when good MMOs are in the world. I don't know if this is going to end up being a good one or a long-term one, but these types of improvements certainly can't hurt, right?
No, and like you said, like this is definitely not a game that I've ever been interested in. Not so much because of the anti-PvP things, as more just the general aesthetic. The themes and stuff, it's not really my jam. So, but at the same time, I'm totally cool with there being games for people that don't like the games that I like and like
Right.
these things, right? Like, because go play those games and stay out of my game and we'll all be happy. Like,
it's always amazed me, like when people are like, "Oh, that game's off." Okay, it's doing fine. If people like it, shut up. Don't.
Yeah, just let people do what they want as far as playing a game. They're not hurting anybody by playing a game.
Yeah, and Old Glory pointing out 20K plus people, and that is their like high. Their average is about 16 right now, but they do break the 20,000 threshold periodically in the last 24-hour high type stuff. That's not a bad number. Nobody is saying that that's a bad number. The only thing we've ever said about that, at least myself, is that I don't think it's the number Amazon wanted. Yeah. I don't think it's anywhere near the number Amazon wanted. And how long will they give it at that level before Amazon says this isn't what we want? I don't know.
All indications right now are from everybody who's talked to developers to inside people that at least right now they're still into the game. They're still developing the game. It still has a solid future in front of it for the foreseeable future anyway. So I mean that's a good sign. At least there's no sign. I mean, obviously we've got this huge update coming out, the biggest update they've ever done. There's no sign of them slowing down at the moment. Like you said, at what point will maybe that become a different story? We don't know. But for right now, they seem to still be all in from all indications.
Yeah. And I think they kind of have to be. Like, you can't let this just totally burn and fail, or Amazon Game Studios is gone as a developer.
Yeah, it's done.
Publisher, they have Lost Ark. There's rumors about other games that they'll be publishing. I think Throne and Liberty, is that one of the... I might be misremembering. Chat, correct me, refresh my memory. There's something out there right now that's a rumor that Amazon's going to be the publisher for. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I think, too, looking at numbers, like a lot of game developers look at numbers MMOs have had in the past when there were less MMOs.
Yeah.
And the more games you get, the more spread out the community is going to become, because they'll find this game that fits their thing and that's what they want to play. So I think they should start expecting smaller numbers in general than trying to be like, the one that manages to hoard all the people.
Right. Because we also have that, like, as much as we love MMOs, that demographic isn't growing all that much.
Yeah, it's already
you know,
small within the gamer community.
Right. There's X number of us, and it's not getting any real bigger. Yeah. So it's Throne and Liberty is NCSoft's game, is the rumor. We'll see. Hey, you know what you should do when you're a game developer? And when somebody says, hey, let's do kind of like a really big overhaul to the way loot drops in our game, you should not reply with, okay. If you if you don't understand the impact of that change. There's something to be said for transparency, and Grinding Gear Games, when it comes to the stuff we do, has been one of the best companies from a PR standpoint for us to work with. They're very transparent with press releases. They're very timely with stuff, interview opportunities, preview opportunities. They run one of the best preview opportunities. Like Path of Exile isn't even Q's game, and she's like, they do a nice job with their preview or their like press previews and stuff like that. But what you should not do when you are lead developer Chris Wilson and they propose this, he came on the forum and said this was due to human error that this got implemented the way it does, as far as rarity and quantity drops across loot for League monsters. And he also admitted to not understanding the impact of the change at the time and greenlighting the release without any further scrutiny. There's something to be said for honesty, Troy, but I don't know if you want to be that honest.
Maybe sometimes you ought to just PR spin something. Send it to the PR people and be like, make us look like we're not total idiots here, please.
I mean, I gotta love the transparency. I really do. And it's not surprising coming from Chris, having worked with him for years now on interviews and such. But yeah, when I read that, I was like, oh, Chris. They have also followed up with multiple forum posts about fixes to not only the League drops and things like that, but other things they are working on as well. But the Path of Exile audience still a little bit in an uproar, and I'm sure that didn't help. That didn't help.
Yeah, probably not. You want your developers to know what's going on, like
especially
as
the lead.
Especially the lead, to understand the impact that something's going to have on the game. If you didn't understand the impact that something had on the game, as a player, I could be like, well, you should have done more testing. You should have done something to come to an understanding of how you were impacting the game, especially when it comes out and makes such a negative impact in the player's eyes as it did this time around.
Q, why are Pizza Huts in China closing? What the hell is going to be forced to close by police? What the hell is going on, and why are we talking about it?
Why are we surprised about this when it happened with KFC?
It totally did. It totally did.
I don't understand why anybody here is shocked. It's basically the same exact thing that happened with KFC. Genshin Impact is running one of its cross-promotional deals where, you go to the restaurant in question and, end up coming out with an item.
And a cardboard pizza.
And a pizza, yeah.
A cardboard pizza.
But at any rate, the whole thing was way too popular. A lot of people went, more people that are allowed to be there because of the restrictions still revolving around COVID, which are probably never going to go away at this point. And they just shut it down, and that it's exactly the same thing that happened with KFC.
Way to go, Hoyoverse and Genshin. Nice job.
Which probably means that we can expect some sort of pizza-related drop for signing up for subscribing to Twitch things at some point in the future in the West.
Yeah, that's what they did with the KFC wings, right? Because that was a
Still
Japan-only
annoyed by
thing,
that.
and then we got them later through a Twitch drop thing.
And for subscribing to specific Twitch streamers or something.
Fortnite won another copyright dance claim lawsuit. Another one. This is after, of course, the being sued for the Carlton dance and other dances over time. This one got thrown out by the judge, throwing out Charlie Puth's "How Long." The video kind of broke it down, like it is spot on, but the judge's ruling said the Copyright Act's legislative history specifically states that choreographic works do not include social dance steps and simple routines. So saying, hey, this like you can't go do the entire Thriller dance in your game without having permissions, but you can certainly make your character do this. You know, that type of, and that is
You know, if it's
accurate.
that simple, I watched this video a few times. If it was that simple of a routine, why didn't the judge just get up and do it?
Let me prove my point. So another,
Look, let me tell you right now, I couldn't do it. It ain't that simple.
another lawsuit win for Epic Games and Fortnite on dances. Elder Scrolls Online pissing off our friends in the EU because there's now going to be an additional 10-week delay in getting the new server hardware update. Now, in NA, we already got ours. Arguably, you know, I'm an Elder Scrolls player. You know, that is my casual MMO. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to stream today. Because I got to get that damn PC character up to where my console one was. But even I'm like, arguably, probably should have done the EU first, right? That is your bigger audience out of everybody. Yeah. But no, NA got it first, and studio director Matt Fior said it's going to be about 10 more weeks before all the pieces are delivered, and then several more weeks for the process of building and testing. ZeniMax anticipates the PC EU will be updated and running in the game around March 2023, and then upgrading the console servers sometime after that. Oof.
Not a great look, especially when most people consider the EU player base larger and apparently having more problems than the NA crowd was having.
Yeah, and they have to wait for different updates, and like it's very weird. Like, I get it. They're a Western-based company, so they cater to the Western audience first. Like, I don't fault them for that, but you also at some point got to be like, where is the ROI, baby? The return on investment.
This is something that, like, when I was reading it, I was thinking about is the fact that, because somebody said it seems like they're very American centric, and it's like, well, they are an American company, and so it's not shocking. It's just like Square Enix doing all their work on their Japanese servers before literally anybody else, and then going, okay, well, you gotta wait because of the same issues, right? We're having trouble getting stuff, so. They did Japan, they did Europe, and then they're like, okay, America, you just got to hold your horses until we get the parts in. And it's totally because of where you're based.
Yeah, and it is one of those things
surprising.
like I said, that I'm like, I'm not surprised by, but I could also understand the audience. It's not a small difference between the EU audience and the NA audience. Like, that is where your money is at right now. Speaking of money, Diablo Immortal is changing the way the legendary crests visually look, because if you haven't noticed, there are actually 3 types of those things, even though the visual displays kind of obfuscate that, and you might be confused into thinking that there's only 2 types, and that the one you pay for is the same as the top tier one you can farm in-game, when that is not the case. There are limitations on the top tier one in-game that you can't bypass, but you can bypass, aka market board, the ones that you pay for, the drops that you would get from the crests that you pay for. Finally, Blizzard doing something about that and redesigning all 3 of those crests. So, yeah, I'm sure that totally wasn't done on purpose. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
They just so happen to look alike, the one you can buy and the one that's farmed in game that you have to find a workaround by going to the cash shop. Come on.
Yeah.
The actual visual difference was just what's behind.
It was very small.
The
yeah.
crest,
Yep.
like the background behind the crest. And then if you hover over it and like look at the description, then it tells you that one gives you bound items and the other one is, you can sell. And it's just, and of course, it's the one that you buy in the shop is the one you could sell.
Yep.
I can't be expected to pay that much attention. I equipped the wrong hatchet in New World last night because they both looked the same, and I ran around for an hour with a hatchet that didn't even have the right stats on it that I needed.
You're so good at that game. You are so good at that game. All right. Time for real or fake headlines. I've got a number of headlines here. Q and Troy are going to square off against each other. Some of these are real gaming headlines. They don't necessarily have to be recent. They are just real and have appeared in reliable publications, not like Jim's blog. I'm not like digging like that, or going for specifically clickbaity stuff. I'm talking about like actual bigger newsy or video gamey sites. And 3 of these headlines were made up by Jason Winter himself. So, and absolutely, chat can 100% participate. As always, feel free to guess, keep your own score. And if you are watching on YouTube or on MMO Bomb, just like we do every time we've done this, which was a grand total of 1 time before, go ahead and when you put your DeBomb or your weekly question of the week answer in the comments, go ahead and give us your score out of 7. Here we go. The first headline, actually, we got to get the Coin of Destiny. Coin of Destiny. Q, I'm going to give you, since you have seniority, I'm going to give you the toss, heads or tails. What do you want?
Tails.
It is tails. Nice job. Nice job. Do you want to go first on your guessing, or do you want to force Troy to guess first?
I'll go first.
You'll go first. The first headline is Xbox players better in bed than PlayStation and Nintendo rivals, says study. Is that a real gaming headline or a fake one? This time I'm actually going to write down the scores so that I don't cheat you both by 1 point.
The thing is I keep getting these weird emails about stuff exactly like this, wanting us to write articles about it.
What kind of websites you visited, Q? Xbox players better in bed than PlayStation and Nintendo rivals, study says.
I'm gonna go with it being false, just because the last emails I got about this were basically about how filthy Xbox players are.
Gonna say that one's fake. Troy, do you agree? Is that one fake or real?
I think that one's gonna be fake.
Both of you saying fake. Chat mostly saying, actually all saying true so far.
Yeah.
Chat, you are correct. That is an actual headline from Metro UK back in 2013.
I am so bad at this game.
Oh, okay. I should not have gone by recent events then.
Yeah, I did. I even specifically said they're not necessarily recent, but the sources were more on the reputable side, not, Jim's blog. Second one, Troy, you get to go first. Teenage gamers better at simulated surgery than medical residents. Oh, hold on. On that former headline, by the way, I need to point out that I did make one edit. I called it Nintendo Rivals, where the original headline said Wii Rivals, but I didn't want to narrow it down to a time period, so I changed the word Wii to Nintendo, in case you're trying to Google the headline. Teenage gamers better at simulated surgery than medical residents. Troy, real or false?
I'm going to say that's absolutely true.
All right. Troy thinks that teenage gamers are better at simulated surgery than medical residents. Q, do you agree? Is this one true or is this false?
I think it's true because I have read studies about how gaming improves surgeons' abilities.
Well, so it says that they're better at simulated surgery than medical residents. So the headline would lead you to believe that they're better at the game than the medical residents are. Maybe not necessarily actual surgery. Either way, both of you get the point. That is true. That was a real headline back in 2012 over at TechCrunch. Chat getting that one correct, too. All right, Q. Guess who's the 6,969th, that's 6969. Guess who's the 6,969th most popular streamer on Twitch? Yup, it's a porn star. Is that a real headline or a fake headline? Chat already chiming in with their answers as well. You're up first, Q. Just box, true for sure.
I'm going to go with fake just because it's too much of a coincidence, but I have no doubt that there are very popular porn stars that are also Twitch streamers.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, Q's going to take false. Troy, what do you think? Is the 6,900, well, at least at the time of writing, was the 6,969th top Twitch streamer a porn star?
That sounds like too much of a Chad headline. I think that's going to be false.
Lots of people in chat saying fake. Couple saying true on this one. A little bit split. is too low. They're probably
Right,
top 100.
That's way too low.
Yeah,
for
there
a
would
porn
definitely no. It was just like, hey, that position is a porn star. Like,
star.
yeah, not saying that's the highest porn star. Either way, it doesn't matter. You both get the point. That one is fake, courtesy of Jason Winter. Troy, you're up first. Man playing real life Frogger hit by SUV. Oh, and by the way, it should be noted there are a lot of other like crazy headlines, but I tend to avoid the ones where like, do you have any idea in searching for this stuff how many headlines I find where somebody stabbed somebody over a video game? Like,
lots,
it is just
lots.
yeah. And I avoid those ones where there is like murder or assault or stuff like that. This one, if true, this guy's got nobody to blame but himself. So even though there is an injury in this headline, I decided to use it. Man playing real-life Frogger hit by SUV. Troy, true or false?
My faith in general humanity is pretty low. So I'm going to say this is true, that this guy was playing real-life Frogger and got hit by an SUV.
It's tied 2-2 right now. Q, is this one true? Did somebody playing
actually
real-life
go with-
Frogger get creamed by an SUV?
I'm going to go with false because I saw this on an episode of Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah, that's right, where he's moving the Frogger machine. Yeah. This one is true. So, Troy, you get the point and move ahead. This was according to NBC News back in 2010. The dude literally stood on the sidewalk, yelled go, and took off across this highway, predictably got creamed, as you can expect. No charges filed against the driver.
Thank God.
None. They were like, you hit an idiot. So there you go. Some in chat are at 4. All right. Troy's at 3, Q's at 2. Troy, you're certainly doing better than the last time.
I'm already doing better than the one I got last time.
Yeah. Well, you technically got 2. I forgot to keep that point. So,
Oh.
Q, you've tied both Anthony and Troy's day one outing. So already a better performance by both. Whose turn is it? Q went first, and we're on number 5, so it's Q's turn. Here you go, Q. Kratos and Sons, quote, healthy but harsh, end quote, family dynamic lauded in psychological study. Kratos and Sons, healthy but harsh family dynamic lauded in psychological study.
I'm gonna go false just because nobody ever says anything's healthy when related to video games.
Gonna say false. All right, Troy. What do you think? Come here, boy. Answer the question.
All right. I'm gonna say this is false too.
Both of you going with false. True. Chat, a little split here. This one is false, courtesy of Jason Winter as well. It is now 4-3, and you're both setting records compared to our last game. Troy, you're up first. 2 more left. A man in Ohio has played Super Mario Brothers 3 every day for 30 years. True or false? Not true or false like he actually did it, because I presume the author would not be sitting there watching them.
Yeah.
But assuming the person's not lying, a man in Ohio has played Super Mario Brothers 3 every day for 30 years.
Oh my God, that sounds like something that could be true. I never put anything past people. I'm gonna go with true.
Gonna go with true. Q, has a man in Ohio been reported as playing Super Mario Brothers 3 every day for 30 years?
Because the game, like, when did the game come out? Because it sounds like something that could totally be true, but I can't remember if the game's actually been out for 30 years. I'm gonna go with true.
Gonna go with true. So both of you are saying true, correct? I'm remembering it right,
Yes.
Troy? You said true.
Yes.
Q saying
I
true.
said true.
Cool. Nobody gets the point. That is a fake headline, courtesy of Jason Winter. We've got one more. Q, you're first. It is a 4-3 game in Troy's favor. Pokemon Go player finds dead body in Wyoming River while searching for a Pokestop. True or false? Q says true right away. Right away. Jumped on it. Troy, are you going with her?
Yeah, I think that's true as well. That doesn't surprise me at all.
It doesn't surprise me at all. That is.
Do you know how many dead bodies were found when Pokemon Go first came out?
That is 100% true, as reported by the BBC and other outlets. But I use the BBC headline. I like the read of it better. In 2016. So absolutely true. Absolutely true. That brings Troy 5 out of 7 this time. Like all of a sudden you learned how to play, and then Q right behind him 4 out of 7. So congratulations, Troy. But damn, good game by both of you.
It was far more impressive than it was the first time around.
At least both of us got more than half right.
Yeah. You and Anthony were abysmal in round 1. Just like absolutely abysmal. Because at the start of the game, you said 3 false, and by the time the title was, yeah, that's fine. That's why I didn't point it out that I had slipped and said 3. I just kept going. Yeah, I don't limit it to only 3. I had spoiled how many. I know, but that's why rage. God damn it, chat. I know. Next time, I won't accidentally say the number of fake headlines.
Okay, but to be fair, we both actually knew that last one was true because, like I said, do you know how many dead bodies were found when
better.
Pokemon Go was popular?
I will do better, Chad. I won't. As soon as I said it, like in my head, I was like, shit. I'm just going to pretend.
The good news is I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. I'm just, when you make mistakes like that, you just keep going. Last bit of news before we head over into the weekly bombs and wrap things up here is DreamWorld is headed into early access. And you would be forgiven if you don't even know what DreamWorld is. The last time we actively heard about DreamWorld as a general community and not people that are really big fans of it and strictly following it and part of the Discord and the Kickstarter and all that stuff was about a year ago. Raging says that's the false headline, that DreamWorld's going into early access. Nope,
Jason.
100% true. They are headed into early access on September 12th. There'll be a 90-minute free trial download that you can do. And then if you want to buy the game into early access, it's $19.99 for a little while, and then it'll go to what they say their normal price is, $24.99. Now, whether this will always be the price or not, we don't know. This is just the early access price, and maybe it'll go up in the future. We don't know about shops. We don't know about any optional subs or any of that stuff yet. That is not announced for early access. But for those of you that catch up, there is a lot to catch up on here, but I don't want to spend all day on this. DreamWorld was a Kickstartered MMO that claimed they had funding and were only really going to Kickstarter to establish a community. They were seeking $10,000, a paltry $10,000, to develop what they called the MMO to end all MMOs. Also, quote of theirs, the last game you'll ever play, which kind of sounds threatening when you think about it. Maybe you play it and you're like, gaming's done. I'm out. I don't know. Then there was all kinds of drama about it. And there have been people that have done full video reviews of all the accusations and stuff like that. I suggested one by Callum Upton to Q and Troy to watch if they were not familiar and needed some catch up. But there are other ones out there. Josh Strife Hayes does a very good one, and a myriad of content creators have been covering this, calling it a scam, all that stuff. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. Not part of the team. But yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah, Callum does do a great job with it. Absolutely, he does. There's a lot going on there. And it's been a year since the alpha that people got access to, which really was very placeholdery, very rough. We called Ghostbusters, or I did, that looks great for an alpha. I expect alphas to be buggy and frame ratey issues and stuff like that. And I expect early development for games to hold placeholders, right? It's not uncommon, particularly in MMOs, for game or privately developed stuff. If Troy and I were making something, it wouldn't be uncommon for Troy and I to start building a game using a bunch of whatever, Unreal assets or Unity assets to get the tech side of things up running while maybe we hire an artist because that's not our forte. I totally get that stuff. But even for that alpha was rough. It was rough. The big tech claim this game makes, Kira TV is another one, yeah, is that they are going to have over millions of players on a single server. Now, obviously, that can't be achieved for $10,000, much less the development of the MMO. Then there was Zach, one of the co-founders, kind of using his broken off engagement in the Kickstarter video as, a sympathy manipulation or a sympathy marketing play. Just minors, accusations of minors being their Discord moderators, mass Discord bootings for people that were questioning things, the Kickstarter only saying that, hey, we're going to produce an alpha, and that was it. Like, to kind of, hey, as long as we put out an alpha, we're fine. We have achieved all of our Kickstarter stuff. This got funded for almost $65,000 on that $10,000 goal, by the way. And here we are a year or so later, Troy, headed to early access.
What an absolute disaster this is going to be. What an absolute train wreck. It's going to be fun to watch everything crash and burn when people try to log into this game and play this thing. They claim that they are going to be able to bring millions of players together.
That's like holy grail tech, by the way.
Yeah. And
if you could pull that off, like Square Enix, Microsoft, Blizz, like they're all buying it from you. You're an instant bajillionaire.
And Callum Upton talked about how one of the guys that are working on the game, he discussed how they were sort of their proprietary way of going about doing that. And he said that the words that the guy used from a developer standpoint, what did he call it? An enum?
Enum,
I believe.
Yeah. An enum.
Yeah. Said that they were going to use that to, help network all these moves. And Callum was like, that, if you don't know, because I didn't know, has nothing whatsoever in any shape, form, or fashion to do with networking millions of players together.
Yeah.
He said that is not the solution. That can never be the solution. He said it's not even something that like an imagination could come up with a way for that to be a solution.
Yep. And an enum is, Callum's right. I'm a software engineer, but I'm not a game designer, right? That's the other thing. Mm-hmm. I may understand the language, but I can't go program a game tomorrow. I'm sure I could teach myself along the way to use Unreal or Unity or any of those things. I have no doubt because I have a head start being a software engineer, but I'm not a game developer. I wouldn't pretend or say that my software development experience suits me for a game development role. These guys said that. And yeah, an enum is just, it's a variable type. It's how you store and keep things from breaking instead of using integers, for example. So yeah, it has nothing to do with networking. Nothing to do with networking. Q, how's this early access going to go?
Okay. So I mean, the entire thing is already a mess.
Yeah.
They're doxing their own players in their own Discord channel, trying to do the selfie upload thing. They finally gave everybody names on their servers, but it's just your MAC address. Like, there's nothing good that's going to come out of this at all because they have no clue what they are doing.
We don't need anything else from Q. That ha 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 was enough.
This is why you do not back things on Kickstarter anymore. This is, and we should have figured it out a long time ago. Like, but this is the real proof. This is why you don't back stuff on Kickstarter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the entire thing, again, there is so much more that we are not covering here in DreamWorld's history. Go check out some of the other stuff. Go check out their Kickstarter page. Go check out their website. Like, you can find all of that. We've hit some of the high points here.
Watch that Kickstarter video, that initial Kickstarter video. Oh, my God. It's so cringe.
Yeah, and there's good things that can come out of Kickstarter, right? Bloodstained is one of my favorite games. I absolutely love that game. That came out of Kickstarter. Not so much with Shenmue 3. But, yeah, I got to say, like, I have access to the game right now. I can't talk about my impressions in-game because of an NDA, an embargoed NDA for the early access date on the 12th, September 12th. So I can't tell you about my personal impressions in-game. But I can tell you that, like, one, setting aside whether things were scams or they did things wrong or accusations were made, like, just set all of that aside, right? DreamWorld would never have interested me personally. It would definitely would have been more, Troy, your cup of tea than mine, assuming that they could pull it off, right? It's very sandbox. It is, very buildy from all the publicly available videos. You gather resources and build. They wanted to add like narrative stuff so that there was quests. They wanted this to have like every aspect of MMO gameplay in one place, which is a very, very lofty goal. And there's a reason that no companies have done that to date or attempted. And the ones that have attempted have been relatively short-lived. When you try to appeal to everybody, the old saying, you appeal to nobody at the end of the day. This wouldn't have been for me everything above board, no accusations, and having the ability to pull it off. But that doesn't mean that I can't look at it objectively. Go watch a first look game for a survival game that I do. Like, the first look is objective, even though those of you that watch this cast know I'm generally not a survival game person. So I can look at DreamWorld objectively like that. Look at these controversies objectively and ask some of those questions. Knowing that the game itself never would have really been for me anyway, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be, to what we talked about earlier. But damn, like so many self-inflicted injuries for something that apparently had initially like $650K from their initial reports in funding from Y Combinator and other investors, and now is in the millions of dollars, like $3 to $6 million from some statements that have been made on the internet. What is going on? Like, where is that money going? I don't know. You're going to get a chance to see it. Thank God they put a trial on this. That was the only thing that kept me from coming onto the show and like absolutely lambasting the fact that they were going to early access. Paid early access, I mean, is that they put a 90-minute trial on there. Play the trial. I don't know. Like, I can't comment about my gameplay, but everything you have seen, if you question all that stuff, play the trial. At least they were smart enough to put a trial up. I'll give credit where due.
And here's the reason, to Q's point, why it will never see the light of day on my computer, because they have absolutely doxed their players before. I have no faith that they're not going to have something like that happen again. I'm scared. I would be scared to download it, to be honest with you.
I'll tell you this much, because this is part of the press release stuff that was sent out. So I'm not breaking NDA. It's actually done through itch.io now. And so it doesn't use like the MAC address stuff. It uses whatever your itch.io display name is. Now, again, what's going on in the background as far as data gathering, transferring data back and forth, peer-to-peer stuff, I'm not commenting saying, hey, that's all totally secure. I'm simply saying that your display name now is your itch.io name. You're safe on that front. You're safe on that front. It'll certainly be interesting to watch. Maybe something that I'm just saying you should stay tuned for. I'm just saying. Let's go do the weekly bombs. Oh, speaking of stuff like this, I figured I might as well just toss an A-bomb out there. Star Citizen is getting ready to cross $500 million in funding. $500 million in funding. And yes, I know you Star Citizens, they've released this bit and this bob and this thing and that thing and this little demo thing and this little mini game thing that eventually they'll all be together and then live in perfect Star Citizen frickin' harmony. Sure. $500 million. How much would it cost to solve world hunger? $40 billion per year. Okay, all right, so maybe that was a bit ambitious on my side. Maybe that was a bit ambitious on my side. How much to make the U.S. completely green? Little ambitious, but you see my point. $500 million. How many DreamWorlds would that make? What is...
Oh, my God. How many DreamWorlds could I make with $500 million?
$500 million. Yeah, I got to give an A-bomb to that. We don't even have a Star Citizen game. It's like still in what? Alpha 74? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I was gonna say this could be my new nemesis, but my God, there has to be a game first for it to be a nemesis, right?
It can't be your nemesis. They've got $500 million. They'll sue you into oblivion.
Probably say one negative thing, and
Yeah.
next thing I know, I'm in court.
Q, you're up.
You know what? I'm just gonna give a bomb to your rant right there, because that was just that's a lot of feels.
It was a lot of feels. Like I hadn't
did too.
looked at Star Citizen in such. We cover multiplayer games, but it's got to be a game for us to cover it. Q sent it to me, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like she sent it as a Reddit post initially, and I'm like, "Oh, this is just some anti-Star Citizen people
This annoys me.
bitching on Reddit, whatever." I'll look at it in a second. I go and I look at it, and I'm like, "Oh my God, they're linking to the Robert Space Industries sites. Let me go and look." Oh my God, they are.
So, one point though, when I wrote the article, I did do the math because they tell you how many Star Citizens they have versus that. And of course, I don't know what the correlation of how much money each put in, but if they all were putting in equal amounts of money, it's about $122 a piece.
Crazy. Have I ever played Star Citizen at all? Is that what you're asking? Well, I mean, the full game is not a thing, but the little bits and bobs I did back on that. Oh my God, that's how long this has gone on. Back on Game Breaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been forever.
Shit.
It's been forever.
Yeah, I haven't done the free fly weekends or anything. I just don't care about the project at all personally. If they ever release a fully closed beta or early access game, we will absolutely cover it because it is multiplayer, but whatever. Yeah, the last time I personally touched it would have been exploring the docks and some of your ships and oddball stuff like that in the Game Breaker days. Go ahead, Troy.
I'm going to be predictable this week. Bomb to New World's new player experience on the PTR. I think they're doing a good job of onboarding players in a much more reasonable way, a way that's going to actually keep more players. Again, the game's not going to be for everyone, but it's going to keep more players engaged and help them get their foot in the door for New World.
I thought for sure you were going to give a bomb to Bless Unleashed closure.
I actually did too.
From the viewers.
Can't give Bless my time of the day.
Dishwisher says, A-bomb to the time waiting for lab results about the piece they cut out of my best friend the other week. Bomb to fibrous lumps of sample 5422 being of no concern. Definitely good news. Know what? Just make that A-bombs to cancer. All of them. Every time. A-bombs for every loss it caused us, for every bit of pain it made us suffer, for every tear it made us shed in grief, for every single moment of fear it strikes into our hearts. A-bombs, let's go. We have catching up to do. And then Dishwisher put a private note, not private, but it was on YouTube. At Mike, 100% understandable if you don't want to put this at the end of the show. I know it's kind of heavy. I just had to get it out of my system, There was no way I was not going to put that on the show. Great news on the biopsy. Fantastic. Definitely a bomb for there, and completely agree with every A-bomb. I lost my father, unfortunately, to that. So there was no way I wasn't going to put that on there. Dishwisher, best of luck to you and your friend. Glad that stuff was of no concern. Huge bomb. From chat, bomb for New World for upcoming changes. Don't make me change my bomb. Amazon, that's coming from Old Glory. And Stojan saying A-bomb to the Lord of the Rings of Power. I haven't watched it yet, but I keep hearing mixed things. People are just over the moon about it, and then people like Stojan are like, this is absolutely awful. I'm a little scared now. Go ahead, Q.
Metallica fan. I'm loving Final Fantasy XIV, but I'm way behind on the patches. I am between Heavensward and Stormblood, I believe.
Hey, you're not that far behind. And in fact, Aspen's just a little bit behind you. Go ahead and team up. Go ahead, Troy.
The Popmaker, bomb to the Genshin Impact Sumeru update. The new area is even more gorgeous in-game than the previews. The additions made to open world exploration and certain combat encounters in the new area are better than ever. And the new Dendro element has added a bunch of variety to the teams we can play, even before theory crafters have discovered all the viable options. Almost forgot, more main story and side quests, of course. All in all, an outstanding update, possibly their best.
Nice. Just Box Dude says, given an extra bomb for Wesker, grabbing and slamming people as well as smack talking the whole time has been a blast, even if its hitbox is kind of baloney. Yeah, I was a huge fan of that Dead by Daylight update. And you got Ada and you got Rebecca Chambers in there as well. By the way, chat, remember, Putting ones live does not exempt you from putting ones on YouTube. Otherwise, I have no bombs next week. So make sure all of you go on YouTube. I give priority to the ones on MMOBomb.com, though. That pays the bill. So if you want to guarantee you'll be on the show, unless you swear at me, put it on MMOBomb.com. Speaking of, Box says weekly bongs. Weekly bongs. Yeah, let's light it up, boys.
Yeah, baby.
It's Friday.
You skipped one.
Did I skip one? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Raggerty. Oh, yeah, well, definitely. I got to read this one. Raggerty, dub bomb to Killer Clown devs. That movie was so weird bad, which made it good. I saw on Twitter the devs were super happy that it was getting traction, that they're giving away game keys at launch on Twitter. I did see that, too. We've been following and kind of retweeting their stuff, too. Absolutely. Yeah. Watch last week's show if you want my opinions there. All right, Q. Now you can have Box's other one.
Box weekly bomb, giving an A bomb to ArenaNet for Guild Wars 2 Steam launch. You could get around the restriction of not being able to use your existing account by adding 2 words to your launch parameters to get the original game launcher up with a place you can enter your login credentials. On the flip side, giving a bomb to EDF6. Got to play the Japanese version at a friend's place earlier in the week and had an absolute blast. Can't wait for it to release in the West and hopefully on PC. EDF.
I wonder if Box is excited by Earth Defense Force 6. I think that was a little too neutral. I can't tell. We'll revisit it some other time. Go ahead and finish it off, Troy.
RS Jabber, A-bomb to COVID and taking forever to recover.
Yes. Hope you get better soon. Weekly question of the week last week was, you named your game studio. Now name your studio's first release and what kind of game was it? And if you weren't playing along with that fun stuff, we would take your favorite Gamescom game if you didn't want to make a game. Dishwisher, again, chiming in. Question of the week, pretty much number one on my list of life dreams would be realizing Calamity, the CCG I designed an about 80% done prototype 7 or so years ago. In hindsight, I think I overdid it and overwhelmed the game companies I tried to convince picking it up. Having the vast majority of the base game and 2 expansions, a total of 393 cards, pretty much done, excluding artwork, including lore and related materials, thanks to a writer friend of mine, aiming for a paper version, coming from a nobody. Maybe that's a bit much to expect anybody to invest into, though funnily enough, every now and then, I keep seeing ideas and mechanics of that prototype being implemented into new games. Parallel evolution, I am sure, and I lost that race, obviously, though I did do some design streams of it back then, and I know there had been a few gameplay company employees and at least one high-profile CCG player among my viewers, ... Anyhow, I couldn't be happier to have a real go at it with a team at it, taking that old prototype, overhauling it, digital in mind this time, making some use of the 27 years I played CCGs with the burning and fiery passion of, well, fire, and add another 2 or 3 years of making my own to it. That would be very cool. Like that type of realizing a long-term dream, that would feel really cool, I'm sure. I actually hope you get to do it someday. We'll play it, make it multiplayer, and we'll throw it on here. And I'll do a first look where I tear it apart. No, I'm sure I would love it. I'm sure I would love it. You know me and CCGs. Good ones. Go ahead, Q.
Old Glory. My Old Glory name comes from a long time ago, Browser Flash Games. It was a tower-based defense type game, last weapon as a minigun called Old Glory. My teenage brain thought, so cool, now I'm 30 plus and I'm stuck with it. I have Ghastly as well, but I use it only when Old Glory is taken, which happens rarely. I believe I have some random studio names in chat, but I don't remember them, to be honest, so I will come up with one now. NC Hard. The first game will be a Battle Royale MOBA as a card game in a third person and single player, Tower of Genshin third, Final Endwalker.
See, I will say, I always thought Old Glory was a flag reference, right? That's like, a reference name for the American flag. I always thought it was kind of weird that Old Glory would use Old Glory in that context. But, not being from the United States. But yeah, I'm glad I now know the origin. Go ahead, Q. I'm sorry, Troy.
Box, I've thought about this idea for a game for over a decade now, ever since playing Bloodborne and Monster Hunter. Haven't thought of a game name, but the concept is essentially hunting legendary monsters, think Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein, etc., using clues that eventually would lead to a climactic final showdown each time. Also, if you couldn't guess, I'm really liked Van Helsing. You need to play a board game called Horrified from Ravensburger's Games. You can find it at Target, most likely. But Horrified is a game that is almost exactly what you just described.
Do you remember the Universal Monsters MOBA, Troy? I mean, that was years ago that we
Oh my
covered
God,
that.
vaguely, yes.
It was literally a MOBA where you were Universal's Dracula, Frankenstein, yeah, Frankenstein's monster, Wolfman, Bride, and all of that stuff. Yeah. Oh, it was browser based though. I'm sure there's video footage of that on MMO Bomb still, because I remember doing I don't know if it was a video or a stream, but we did gameplay with the devs. That's got to exist still, right? Universal Monsters MMO Bomb videos. Oh my God, yes. Posted.
The experiences we never forget.
YouTube ad. August 1st, 2012. Universal Monsters Online Beta Gameplay Commentary First Look HD. God, that was so bad. I was such a Universal. Yeah, it was browser based. Such a huge Universal Monsters fan. Chaos Causer says, from Gamescom, I'm looking forward to Return of Monkey Island. I'm a massive fan of the Monkey Island series, and I pre-ordered it. I'm looking forward to its return, too. I'm one of those people that's not the YouTuber without premium. I'm not all that keen on the art style, but I'm also not one of those ones that's like ready to burn the studio down because they had the audacity to try something different. So I'm with you. I'm looking forward to the game, too. Go ahead, Q.
Raggerty. The first game for Moist Dreamhole Studios would be a Hitman-like game where you need to stay moist to stay in it. The targets would be various human-like objects that get rid of moisture, i.e. sponges, towels, and whatnot, breaking the illusion of the name Moist Dreamhole. A dreamhole is an opening left in the steeple, tower, barn, etc. that lets light in. Moist just makes it sound dirty, and it does. It makes it sound dirty. Thanks, Mike.
I almost didn't put it in the show notes.
But you put it in there just for me.
Hey, man, I wasn't thinking about the order when I cut and paste. Troy, finish it up.
Cal, what is Tipsy Cat's first release? Well, it's obviously Bread Sleeping Simulator, the Bodega Cat Chronicles. Duh.
How could we just not have thought about that? Totally understandable. All right, question of the week this week. Just open up the damn floodgates. Let me know what you think about DreamWorld, whether you're a critic of everything that's happened in the past up to current, whether you are a fan. Did you back them on Kickstarter? Are you in the game at all? Are you looking forward to early access? Whatever you have to say about DreamWorld, throw it in the comments below. That's today's question of the week. Don't forget your weekly bombs while you're there. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad in the world of gaming or just life in general. We, of course, will be back next week with another episode of the Always Online podcast. Until then, Troy, where can everybody find you? Selling your consoles.
Winner to buy some consoles with Blaze Unleashed on them. Nuke Fridge. Yeah, baby.
Q.
Bless Unleashed is not PT.
Oh, man, it will be. It's gonna be worth millions.
Nobody's buying that.
Lurking on Twitter at Quitland.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMO Bomb. That way you'll get tweets every time articles go live, interviews, features, guides, first look videos, giveaways, and more. Until next week, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Later.